Last night I watched a movie on Netflix. It's called The Wonderful Life of Henry Sugar. Some of you might have seen it. And it's about a man in India who follows his heart, and he runs away with the traveling circus, and he finds a yogi in a forest, and he learns from this yogi a particular, peculiar skill. He learns to concentrate so hard that he can see everything around him, even with his eyes closed. And Henry Sugar discovers a book in a library about the story of this man's life, and he thinks, well, that's a pretty cool skill to learn, so I will learn it myself. So he spends many years learning it, and he perfects it, and he thinks, I'm going to put this in the service of others. So he travels the world gambling, and he reads through the back of the cards, and everywhere he goes, he wins. Never too much, so he doesn't get found out. He earns a fortune, and he invests it. He builds hospitals and orphanages, and in due course, he dies a happy man. Now, I want you all, just for a moment, to close your eyes. Just close your eyes. And I want you to imagine standing opposite you one of your important clients, or somebody that you serve. And I want you also to imagine that they have this special quality of seeing. And after the business talk is done, they look at you and they ask you this simple question. Apart from being a client, what am I to you? If they could see through you, into you, what would they see? What would they notice that perhaps is unseen or unimagined even to you? Now you can open your eyes now, because we're going to go on a little journey to maybe discover what they might see. So we all know that in the legal sector, client service is up there. It's really, really important. And when I joined the bar in the 1990s, the culture was quite brutal. Lots of endless work, endless drinking. And for me, as a self-employed man, ambitious, it was great. I could take on as much work as I wanted. I could choose how I served my clients. I could really succeed and achieve. And wind forward to 2014, I'd taken silk very young. I owned a big mansion house in North London. I'd exceeded and bypassed most of my senior peers. I'd won accolades for my work. I'd also lost my wife, was estranged from my children, had suffered physical breakdown and mental burnout. And so I was lying there one day, not really able to move, thinking, maybe it's time to quit. But there was a little bit of me that thought, you know what, I've worked pretty hard for this, so let's give it one more go. But it's got to be different. I've got to figure out how to do things differently. Above all, I've got to figure out how to do the thing I need to do that I can't do, which is to stop overworking. Because I was like a little hamster on a treadmill, on the wheel, going round and round and round and round and round. And I knew I needed to jump off, but I couldn't look left and I couldn't look right, partly because my beautiful clients were in front of me and I was doing a good thing. I was serving them. So I thought I'd get some help. And let me tell you what I found. So here's a dynamic of all relationships. It lies at the heart of all relationships. It's exchange, giving and receiving. Client relationship, the classic model of it is, we give services, we get money in return. Client receives services, gives money in return. Very simple. In personal relationships, it's a bit different because love stands in for money. That's why parents don't charge their children for a taxi ride when they drop them at the station. Love stands in for money. But of course, what we see above the line is not the totality of our client relationship. It doesn't answer the question, and why else? And what else? What else do we do it for? Why else do we do it? Because there are things that are unseen below the line. Purpose is one of them. We do it to fulfill our purpose. Lucky if that applies to you. But there are other things too. Let me go back to my story. So I was brought up in the 70s. My parents both came from abroad. My father was an immigrant from India. And he was a lovely man, always impeccably dressed, very smooth, very charming, but he had a secret. And his secret was that he was a chronic depressive. He was also quite a, how shall I put it, harsh disciplinarian. I'll leave you to figure out the rest. Now, what's this got to do with client service? Well, let me tell you what somebody with Henry Sugar's vision might have seen below my line at that time. Put me into those circumstances growing up. What I wanted was love. I wanted love and approval from my father. I never found it. I would seek it, but it wouldn't come. But I would constantly strive for it. When I left home, that loop was still open. That need was still there. So I did what all of us do to some extent. I took my family pattern and I imprinted it in my workplace. I swapped my father for my clients. I sought to please my clients instead, for the approval that I would get back. So if Henry Sugar had looked below my line, he'd have seen the imposter, the person who feels they're not good enough until they receive approval. And then for that magic moment, you feel great, and then you have to go back to the beginning again. Or the person of insecure belonging. If I mess up, they're going to kick me out. I need to keep striving. I need to keep striving. And there are other things which we'll have, and all of us have them. Now, many of you may be thinking, yeah, but that's good, isn't it? I mean, never let a good crisis go to waste and all that stuff. This is the kind of stuff that powers us. This is what drives us. And to an extent, that's true. But unless we're mindful of it, we risk doing something really dangerous. We risk turning the client relationship on its head, because we risk putting our needs before our clients' needs. Let me give you an example. If you go into a relationship and one of the things that you're searching for is your need for approval, what happens if you need to give your client advice that they don't want to receive? Will you take the risk of disapproval in their interests? What if you've made a mistake? Will you own up to it and take the risk of being disapproved by your client, even though it's in their interests? So we need to safeguard against these things as best we can. So what can we do? Well, there are three things we can do, really. One is we can improve our awareness. What are the additional things that we're entering into a client relationship for? Because the client hasn't contracted to give you congratulations for doing a good job. They pay you the money, it's done. Right? What are the other things we're looking for in a client relationship? That's the first thing, our awareness. The second thing is, what's running in us that we need to attend to? What are our personal patterns we need to attend to? If we feel inadequate, where does that come from? How can we deal with it? That's what I learned, and I trained in it, and I now do that with other people. And the third thing is, we need to find a place of balanced exchange. Balanced exchange. Of course, we're always going to get benefits beyond the money from what we do for our clients, and it's right that we would, because that inspires us, that fires us on. But we don't want to place too much in the client relationship. So we need to make sure we get other things from our partners, our lovers, our family, our teams, whatever other groups we might belong to, so that we've got secure belonging, so that we feel empowered when we walk into that relationship. Then, if we can do that, we can face our clients from a place of strength. We can make sure that their needs are put first. And if we do that, then we can find the heart of good client service. Thank you.